Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome on in. It's good to see you all. Hello, familiar faces. Dora, welcome in. Claus and Thing, hello. Chris Spidey, hello. Fried Egg Sammy, hello. Elvis, hello. Stardrop, hello. And Dancer for Life, hello. Welcome on in. Also, Katie and Lane, thank you so much for those follows, friends. Welcome. And Christina, hi, Christina, welcome in. So good to see all of you. You can see I have a special guest today. If you have been on my streams before, you've probably heard me talk about this human being who is here. This is my mom. This is Mama Fierce. But welcome in, friends. I'm going to look at the camera that I usually have there, but it's not there. So I keep on going, look at the camera. The camera's right in front of us today. But hi, hello, welcome in. If you know my stream, you know how we usually start. We like to sort of chat about how our days are before we go into our stream. Today we're going to be having a little chit chat with Mother. A lot of folks in my community questions. We'll take questions from chat. We'll just have a lovely little discussion, a lovely little time. But before we do, let's kind of guess check in how everyone's day is going. I would love to know how all of you are doing.
I say hi back to Fried.
Yeah, you can say hi to people.
Dora
Sorry.
MLD.
Yeah, say hi to people. Sorry, I went wild with my intro.
We are not twins, but at most.
If I take my glasses off, we look a little bit more family resemblance. but welcome, pals. Today's been quite incredibly difficult, but excited to be here with the Q&A. Stephanie, it's so good to see you, friend. I'm sorry to hear that today's been difficult, but I'm very excited to have you here. I'm so sorry to hear your days, but hopefully we can, cheer everyone up a little bit, have a lovely little chat. Before we dive into chat, we've got lots of stuff to talk about. I'll fill you in on how my day is. You can fill everyone in on how your day is. I would love to, if you want to tell us in chat, good, bad, any news you have to share. If you want to, tell us what's going on with you. Let us know. Envy, hi, hello. Yes, Mama Fierce is here. But my day was good. Very, very chill. I slept in. Love that. It was rainy today, so I felt very much like just sleepy, chill vibes. And then I completed binge watching Murders in the Only Murder in the Building. MCA, hi, Fred. Welcome. It's good to see you. I binge watched that. I worked on knitting my hat. I got everything set up for stream so we could have everything looking cute and fun and funky and fresh. And then you got here, and now we're streaming. That's kind of been my day. Not very eventful, nothing too special, but this is the main event. This has to be the main event, right? So yeah, how was your day?
Well, it just got a whole lot better with all these lovely hellos from me and Claus and things. And Steffa Beep, big hug, virtual mom. This stream does make your day. And no, I got in the bus, went to the office, did computer officey, and this is the result of my evil cat Pharaoh, who is in trouble jumping. And hi, Mick. MCA
rave. I mean, it's technically not, but we just call it MCA.
Okay.
Yeah. You might want to louder volume.
Oh, okay. No one has ever told me to be louder, but okay.
You'll see how our audio is capturing here, and if you're talking and it's not going, it'll mean
Okay.
you're too quiet. So I think I just talk really loud. Hi, it's me. Hello. So if you're talking and it's cutting out, um,
Okay.
then
Duly noted.
duly noted. I can move the mic closer. It's gonna be hard sharing the mic. But yeah, you kind of
It's hard for both of us to share the mic. Let's
I know,
be honest.
I know. It's
Let's
hard
be
for
honest.
it's hard for us
It's
to share the
us.
mic. It's hard to share the. That's the thing with Twitch usernames. It's like sometimes you just have to like be like, well. I kind of have to just accept that,
Why are you moving the mic?
because I'm talking now, and then you can move it. We're gonna find a balance. We're gonna find a balance.
Okay.
The
Oh,
flattery will get you everywhere,
Claus, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, I guess for everyone in chat who doesn't know you, I obviously know you very well. Hi, hello.
Hi,
You're
hello.
my mother. But I guess for other folks who don't know you, would you like to give everyone a little bit of like a rundown of what you do, any fun, interesting facts about you, and that, whatever you want to do. Obviously, we're gonna dive in. We're gonna have like, but I'm just gonna also do one thing to my.
Thank nerdy pixel girl. Can I talk while you do that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Fierce Mom or Fierce Mama. I am
Second.
AK.
Okay, this should. Sorry, friends. I'm figuring out how to have us both be here and talking on the mic. We might be better now. We might be a little bit better now. I just wanted to make it so that we can hear both of us a little bit better. So.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
This should be a little bit better. We should be able to pick up both of our voices better. Hopefully this is better for all of you so you can hear both of us talking without us leaning too close into the mic. Let us know if it gets too
Claus.
Let us know if it gets too loud. Let us know if it gets funky.
Thanks, Steph, for letting us know. So
Okay, it sounds better. Perfect. That's what I
Thank
wanted
you.
to do. It's
Thanks,
usually
FCA.
just me. It's
Yeah.
not usually two people. Anyways, let me say hi to Katie and Stephaby. This sounds awesome too. Good job. Thank you, Stephaby. Also Cherry, hi, and Nerdy Pixel Girl. Love you both. You're both on. Also, look so much like your mom, especially your laugh. Laugh twins. Okay, perfect. Thank you all. And thank you for being so patient. As I said, I've never we've done one stream together in person, and I definitely did not do the audio very well. So we're living, we're laughing, we're loving, and we're learning. We're figuring it out. Be patient.
So I thought what might be interesting for all of you is sort of my connection to the LGBTQI community, kind of my history there. So I'm born in the 1960s, and so I was born when basically everything about being gay was illegal, and people could lose their jobs and lose their kids and couldn't be rented to, and all kinds of stuff. And I met my first out folks when I was my first year of university. So when I was 18, and one of my friend's sisters was out, and I would say it's very common in my generation that at that time her parents weren't speaking to her. But I think it gets better as an organization, I think is correctly named, because a lot of people, I think, my observation is that sometimes your parents' first reaction is not their final reaction. So I knew a lot of people whose parents didn't speak to them for a long time, but came around. And then I went for my third year of university, I went and lived in San Francisco. So I lived in San Francisco in 1982. 81, 82. I went to my first Pride Parade in San Francisco in 1982. And I met a lot of LGBTQI folks then. And I think that really, because I was there in 1981, 82, and then I finished university, and then I went back to San Francisco, and it was right in the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and people weren't.
You're reading chat.
I'm reading. I'm reading. Thank you, God.
Hi, God.
Yes.
Also, Elvis, enjoy your lyric. Fall asleep to stream. Go forth. Do what you got to do, my friend.
Yes.
We're here to chit chat. We're gonna try our best to keep up with
Yes.
chat, but we might get distracted with convos. So be patient with us. And
we're
we love you all very much.
we're a chatty family. But so the thing I will say about when I became really committed to the LGBTQI community was a longer conversation, maybe for another day, is like the straight community was so not only not there for the gay community, but like, oh, good riddance, like openly hostile to people with HIV. And the LGBTQI community really banded together, and it was horrible, like totally horrible, but it was so important how people came together. And so through that, and then I met some friends, and I met this woman, Julie Dorff, who founded an organization now known as Outright, which is about LGBTQI human rights. And then I at one point moved, and I worked for the AIDS Committee of Toronto in charge of fundraising for 3-4 years. And then more recently, because I knew the board chair from the AIDS Committee was one of the founders of an organization called Rainbow Railroad.
We love Rainbow Railroad. I feel like if you are Twitch pals who follow anyone on Team Neat Dude, it's one of the sort of stream teams on Twitch. Folks like Blizzbear, Ketapalooza. They just recently did a fundraiser for Rainbow Railroad, which is an organization that like I absolutely adore. It's very, very rad. I think they raised something like $30,000 for Rainbow Railroad.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing when it comes to fundraising.
Yeah, it is. Actually.
It's actually kind of funny because also, hi Mars, welcome in. It's kind of funny because like every time I'm doing a Twitch fundraiser, like it's always like, like you've been in fundraising my entire life, and I'm kind of like, you know, I've always loved entertainment, but kind of it's funny that like I'm stumbling into a form of entertainment that also there's something about Twitch where it's like it's intrinsically like linked to charity. Like it is sort of seen as like almost like a not a mandatory thing, but it's almost like an expected thing that if you're streaming on Twitch you will do a charity stream. I don't know why that exactly is, but it's kind of interesting that like I've stumbled into a field of entertainment where like charity is like expected. That I don't have anywhere I'm going with that other than pointing that out as a thing.
Okay.
But yeah. So
True.
So
then I worked. I volunteer with Rainbow Railroad, which I've done for about the last 8 or so years. And if you don't happen to know who we are, we're an LGBTQI refugee organization that helps people around the world. They get as far as they can, and then we often help them on that last leg of their journey to get to safety so that they're able to love who they love. So that's a little bit about me.
I also like how you're about you is like you telling everyone about all of like the like that, you know, nothing about, you know, your hobbies. It's like here's my history with the. I mean, it's great. It's great. You already kind of tackled what I wanted to start with talking about, but like I love it. You're like here's all the cool allyship I've done. Also, Dr. Chloe, welcome in. Thank you for the follow, friend. Thank you for being here. And I agree. Clausen Things actually pointed out Twitch is all about like building communities, and so like charity and community support definitely makes sense.
Yes, God is good, but you know what? Like otherwise, like why you're gonna have a straight cisgendered white woman chitty chatting for 2 hours? Like who cares, right?
True. No. And I think you know. I think it's important. I feel like it's really great that you're, talking about your allyship and like, because I feel like you have like a lifelong dedication to allyship. It's not just like, you know, I came out and you suddenly were like, well, my kid's queer, and so now I'm going to be an ally. It's like it goes so
So
far
I
back.
think yes, and
Yes, and
yes, and
improv.
yes, and improv, and suddenly, yes, and I'm less common for my generation. I happened to get lucky. I happened to live in San Francisco. I happened to live in San Francisco at a certain moment in time. So I hope that for those of you listening here, in terms of your family, in terms of friends, in terms of community, if not everyone has been on this journey since 1981, 82, like that doesn't matter. If they're here for you now, that's all that matters. And I mean, like if you think about like where I went to university and we graduated 16,000 people, and I was the only one who went to San Francisco. So not that other people weren't already LGBTQI or maybe went to New York, but other people, even if they're fully supportive now, maybe just didn't start as early. So it better to have people being supportive than
at their own pace whenever they come around to it than no support at all. But yeah, you kind of did have that like perfect storm of like you went to university. I didn't know that you met your first sort of like queer person university. See, this is also why I was excited for today. I was like, I feel like there's gonna be some stuff where I'm like gonna learn new things. I think that's a cool thing. I've talked about this on my channel before, like on my own stream, where it's really, really cool, like being an adult and interacting with your parent, because like you get to like understand more about them as like a human being. So what are you squinting at?
Because I can't read the emoji that.
Oh, it's my emote where it's heart eyes and squishy face. Okay. It's very sweet. I'm glad you're enjoying everyone. Thank you.
But I wanted to answer this community question, which I can see over here.
Okay. Yes. Also, all of everyone who submitted your questions, I have them all in a little Google Doc. I put them sort of all out in a little bit of a doc. We're gonna try to tackle them all, but as you can probably already tell for the first 20 minutes of stream so far, we're a little chatty. You can see where I get it from. We kind of run off with topics and kind of just get ourselves. So we'll try our best to sort of focus, and if we don't get to them for the most part of the stream, we'll do a rapid fire at the end.
Okay.
But
perfect. So, because I want to tackle this question: were you always 100% supportive of the LGBTQ community to take time? If so, was there anything that encouraged you to be more supportive, help you understand better? And I wanted to tackle this, and I want to be honest. And
I also want to say this is like, there's no such thing as the best question, but like this is a really good question. So whoever submitted this question, I was like, this is so good. It's so like well written, and I think it's such like a.
So I think the question is, were you always supportive? I talked a little bit about that, but I also think support has come in layers. So, I feel like I was lucky in that I was still pretty young, relatively in my generation, to meet. At that time, it was gay men and lesbians. And I think at that time, there was a lot of prejudice against bisexuals.
I think there still is. I think there is still a lot of bi erasure in the queer community. If you're, a woman who is bisexual who is dating a man, you're seeing it's very much a lot of. So I think it's still a thing. I'm sure it was probably even more so then, but I don't want to say it's all better now, because from at least from my experience in the community, it definitely still is.
Fair.
There, as much as we are living in a more breaking the system world, I think there still is that like need to cling to that binary and either side of it. So I see where you're coming from, and it's wild to think that also it's still present.
Okay, so last star drop. I don't think that was a loaded question, but I think it was an awesome question. And MCA, thank you. And I think that is, so I was I met a lot of gay men and I met a lot of lesbians relatively early. But as I say, I think there's layers to this, because it's one thing when it's kind of your friend and you meet them and you're both kind of fully formed. And then I felt there was another part of this. This gets to a later question. I started thinking you were gay when you were about 4. Um, so, so I didn't really feel like, with you, I don't feel like there was, I felt like you were you. With some of my friends and some of my friends' kids, some of the kids, when they came out, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. And some of the friends' kids, when they came out, especially there were a couple of friends whose kids were trans, I was like, I did not see that coming. Like, I just didn't see that in that kid. And I feel like that was another part for me. And I will say, because I feel like I want to be honest, I think that the person I am today is, I feel like I feel like it's none of my business what your identity is. Like, you know who you are, and it doesn't really affect me. And like, use whatever washroom you're comfortable with, and don't trash talk. Don't be all turfy on Twitter, and you know what I mean. But I will.
Atmos mom said, "Fuck J.K. Rowling."
Well, I was trying to be less.
I'm gonna outwardly say "fuck J.K. Rowling." Oh wait, I probably it's fine.
Well, I was actually thinking about Jordan Peterson right now, who's like, just like, Elliot Page didn't do anything. Like, just like Elliot Page is just living their best life. Like, just leave them alone. I will say though, the notion, like, I had a lot of mental trouble breaking out of the binary, I would say about 5 or so years ago. And the idea of people being trans, like, at first, I hope that how I did this was internal and not external. I hope that how I did this was, it's not, like I want to be supportive. And if I have trouble understanding this is my problem, not someone else's problem. And I feel like through that, I've learned a lot. And now I'm, like I said, I'm like, go live your best life. It's like, like your best life is what you need to do. So hopefully that answers those questions.
No, I think it does.
I
think it definitely does. I want to catch up with chat, and then I also want to sort of say something about that. But hi, Call It in Love, aka Maggie. It's good to see you. And then Cherry's saying, as someone who's bisexual and non-binary, feels so happy someone's talking about this. Good. This is why we have these combos, right? It's important to have these combos. And then Steph is agreeing, and then saying that they were part of dating a man and felt like they didn't fit. They just had to fit the straight idea. Okay, yes, hate that for you, but also very, very valid. And that, that's why we have these combos. People know that they're not alone. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I think it is like, as much as like, I think you are like such a great example of like a really good ally. I think I have like, I do have this memory of like, I'm not going to, talk about names specifically, but like, kids who I went to elementary school with, and you coming to me like, oh my gosh, I just heard this person is trans. And I was very much like, okay. Like, I was very nonchalant about it. And I feel like it was something more jarring than shocking to you. But I think that just is like, even for the most accepting people, sometimes it can just still be like a brain flip. And it's also like, trans is not new, but it's more widely accepted, and as time passes, it's more and more widely accepted. Even like for my age group, like it's still like it kind of has been like it's still, there still are people who are a little bit jarred by it, and I feel like the Gen Z is even more like chill whatever. But yeah, like I think it's good to be honest and be like, yeah, no, even though I'm like, I think you're an incredible ally, and I think you have always been involved with the LGBTQIA community, you've always been supportive, there are still aspects that are like take you an extra second. And I think it doesn't help anyone if you put on the front of like, I've always been perfect, right? So I appreciate your candidacy. Is that right? The right word?
Candor. That's so interesting.
Candidacy. Presidentship. I don't know.
Yes. I'm running for president of Twitch. Thank you, MCA. That's so funny. I first learned cisgender actually when one of your friends said something there in a class, and they're like, oh, there was someone in the class, and the professor said something about cisgender, and I looked, and a bunch of my classmates were like Googling it, and I'm like,
And you're like also Googling
and I'm like,
it?
yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, quickly, like, you know,
What is cisgender?
And then I was also like, and then I Googled cisgender, and then I was still like, what is cisgender, right? And so I think that's the thing. Like, and I want to say in terms of context, I guess, not to forgive family members or friends or whoever who are unaccepting. What I can say is like, so bear in mind, like when I grew up in the 60s, and I remember reading about this, like it was common that like gay bars would get firebombed. Like literally people would throw a Molotov cocktail into a gay bar. And there was, I think, a horrible thing in New Orleans in like 1973 where it was something where they like threw in a firebomb and they locked the door and a bunch of people died and almost none of the bodies were claimed because it was considered so shameful. So it's kind of like, I always feel like with people is like, where did they start and where did they end and where have they gotten to, and so that's part of it, right? Is that like in terms of my awareness, it was about lesbians and gay men first, and about bisexual people, that was newer, and then the non-binary and asexual and all those pieces of people's identity has been even newer. And so it's kind of, how do I onboard that? And as I say, to me, like my mantra is, how do I make this my problem in terms of dealing with it, not trying to force that to be.
And I think that's like that should be the ally mantra, is like, how do I take this on and learn about this and, you know, understand this, and how do I not go and, you know, put all of that, because I think that's a problem that a lot of, you know, marginalized folks deal with a lot, is people expecting them to educate, like people coming up to a trans person saying, okay, tell me everything, and it's just like, it can be so emotionally exhaustive. So it's just, I think the mindset you have for allyship is such a great mindset for people to take on. I think that mantra of like, what can I do, how can I, what is my role in this, right?
For sure. That's so great. Callie.
Call it new love.
Call it new love.
Call it new love. It's Maggie. You can just, I mean, it's
Oh,
not,
sorry.
but yeah.
Okay.
This is just one of my regular pals in our community. So
That's awesome.
Didn't learn about neopronouns till Twitch. You got to get exposure to something first. Exactly. Yes. And it's understandable that, you know, some people are going to have exposure to certain things earlier. I think going on what you said about, you know, family members coming from different places, I think you can both be patient with family members and hold that understanding that, you know, they might be coming from a different place, they might be starting at a different level, while also I think it's important to remember to like look out for yourself
100%,
and your own well-being.
100%.
And if
100%.
they are not at the place to accept you, and they're, you know, that is doing harm to you in any which way, you can both have understanding and compassion for them, take your step away from that at the same time.
I feel like there's a question about that further down.
There probably is. I mean, we're rambling. We go out of order. Who cares?
Okay.
Right?
But so, I mean, yes, I think for sure. And so I think one of the things that, you know, when I was living in San Francisco, very few of my friends there were actually from San Francisco, because it was just going to be often safer or easier to be there. It was just going to be easier on them, might be easier on their family. And I hope that we now live where even if you can't live in your home community, there are more communities around, I think, North America where you can go live. And I want to note, God just made a good point about speed running. And of course, I think there's 2 points. Someone just made a point about, Maggie just made a point about like, why should anybody have to come out? Like, why can't you just be. I think that is a great point, because then it makes it assume like there's something wrong with you or other with you or different with you. The other thing I note is that I know, because like I'm a super tree hugging lefty person, so I
Crunchy munchy
munchy person, so I go to like, you know, talks and conferences and whatever. And I remember hearing from a lot of people in social services that a disproportionate number of the people who are homeless, who are youth, are LGBTQI people. And so I think one of the notes that God, when you talk about, you know, like thinking about there's no points for speed running and to do it in your safe place, is I was thinking a lot about this as I was getting ready for this. And I was saying, you know, kind of like a mom and an older person, like if you can have some money saved up and have a safe place to go live, but it's hard, right? Because the people who run away are really strong, because those are the people that are in a often dangerous situation, and they won't live with it. I think it's, you know, once again, that's why this is called It Gets Better. There are people who care about you, and there are organizations that can maybe support you. There may be other families you could live with. There may be other relatives you could live with.
Well, I think that's also what's so cool about Twitch, because you mentioned that, you know, San Francisco and having sort of these like, because I think a lot of the time it's, you know, the reason why there's such big gay culture in places like, you know, Toronto, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, you know, those big cities, is because, you know, it's not because all gay people just happen to be born in these big cities. You know, that's not how it's, you know, for example, you know, Toronto is one of the biggest cities in Canada. It's sort of a large metropolitan city. And so people from, you know, Newfoundland and Calgary and like Saskatchewan and all that stuff like that, you know, they're coming to these bigger cities because, you know, they are, you know, maybe moving away from places that aren't as accepting. So I think that, you know, if that is not an option for people, I think that's what's really cool about the internet, is because, you know, we have places like It Gets Better, you know, different queer Twitch streamers, different queer communities on the internet that sort of like act as almost these.
But can I say, as your parent,
What?
Clear your browser history, people.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you so much. So no, but I hate you so much. Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to me?
No, because
no. We're moving on, and I'm trying to say a serious point about how Twitch is so cool and how Twitch is like a metropolitan city of its own. And how it's like, you know...
But, you know, even if you're Googling, like, you know, Minneapolis is actually a really big community. So even if you're Googling, like, you might want to Google, like, gay community centers in other cities, or, you know, whatever. Like, you're still going to want to be sure that you're not leaving. If you're in an unsafe environment at home,
that's
or...
Like, and you know, you can watch a Twitch stream in private. You can Google stuff in an incognito browser. You know, like, you know, the internet allows you to explore queer communities without having to really like leave your house. Yeah. And, you know, without having to come out to anyone. I think that's a really cool thing about Twitch too, is I've had a lot of people in my community who have tried out new pronouns, who have tried out new names in my Twitch chat. They've said outright, you know, this is where I'm trying these new things. So I think, you know, while it's great to find in-person stuff, and I think it's really cool that, you know, you were able to be in San Francisco with a bunch of these queer folks, sort of, you know, building these connections with queer people and sort of coming to understand queer spaces. You know, not everyone has that. And I think I acknowledge, you know, how much privilege I have of growing up in such a big city with so much like queer history and so much like acceptance and such a diverse population. And I know that's not what everyone has.
Well, and you have a queer godfather.
I do. And so, you know, through and through. Let's catch up on chat. I hate you so much. Started the water makes the frogs gay. So true, bestie. Don't find it necessary to come out to anyone except close people I trust, who will have a supportive reaction. Frankly, not anyone else's business. And like I said, don't want to feel like an other. Very, very fair. And Steph is saying, currently living in a somewhat unsafe home and finding resources and security is a real necessity. I'm hoping you are finding them, my friend, and I hope that your situation gets safer as time goes on. not y'all asking what. No, I hate it here. And Gora is saying, I've only felt safe coming out to my friends. I'm still afraid to be who I really am, my family, because I know they might not be supportive. It's not a race, exactly. I also like. I think because we're talking about coming out, like I also. I mean, I could be remembering things differently. I feel like I never really actually officially was like, because I feel like I was in this. I was in the era of like YouTubers like Tyler Oakley and Davey Wavy and like the coming out videos, and like I was definitely like Googling coming out videos and how to come out, and I was just like, it just didn't make sense to me and it didn't feel right to me. And so I feel like, I could be misremembering. I feel like I never officially came out. I feel like I don't remember the exact details, and you better not embarrass me again, but I feel like my sort of official like coming out was like, I mean, I think talking about either a guy I liked or like a boyfriend or something like that. I think that was more so the route that I ended up taking. I could be wrong, and again, I will end this stream. I will turn this car around. I brought you on this stream, and I can take you right off of it. I swear, I love you, but like, I swear. So I'm just saying, that is my recollection. And I think I'm very, very lucky that I felt like that was how I was able to come out, was just not making a big deal about it.
Yes, his house, his rules. You're absolutely
Exactly,
right.
my house, my rules.
So yeah, you didn't. Well, I hope. Who knows? This may be the last 3 sentences I say before the screen miraculously goes blank. But I was saying to my gay friends.
I remember you telling me this after I finished high school.
Yes.
Because my mom knew one of my high school teachers, who was one of my teachers. I was in the closet going to school for musical theater performance. So,
Yes.
So anyways, my mom knew one of my teachers, and I heard after the fact, either from you or from you.
No, you were the only person who thought you were in the closet.
That's also true. I was in a greenhouse, a clear, transparent glass greenhouse.
Yes.
Anyways, but so I remember you saying
you were dragged to prom.
But I was already out by then.
Not to me, you weren't.
I wasn't?
Nope.
But again, I think I never like really actually came out. That's the thing. So I felt at least that I was out already. Like I think probably grade 11.
No. Grade 12.
Grade 12?
Yep. So I said to my friend, like, why won't Atmos come out to me? And my friend was like, oh, because you're going to be too supportive and you're going to be like, oh, let's throw a rainbow flag party. Let's throw a coming out party. Oh, good. We can march with P flag in the Pride Parade. Yay!
I mean, have we also been on a pride float together? Was I wrong? Was I actually that wrong? Anyways.
And I also say, which is, I think, been great in our family, is my parents, my late parents of blessed memory, your grandparents were like supportive from the get-go, because they're like, you're our grandson, we're in. And
well, that's the thing too. I never felt like I felt like coming out was such a weird thing, so I never felt like I had to have an official like, mom, I'm gay, cry. And I never felt like I had to also tell that to because again, I think my memory of things is probably different than your memory of things. Perception is, based on how you go out the world. But again, I feel like by the end of high school, I was out to you without officially like coming out. And then with grandmother and grandfather, I think, I think you kind of told them, but also I think, the first time it was official was when I, brought like a partner to visit them.
Yeah.
And it was just, that's what it was. It was okay, cool. Like it was never, at least I didn't feel like it had to be discussion. I feel like it was cool. Again, I think you had kind of given me inklings of like, grandmother had been like, oh, and he knows how to sew and that'll be so lovely for his wife. And you were like, bestie,
and I also
probably husband. And grandmother was like, okay, cool, yeah, husband.
Yeah, but I also want to say that, like, because this sort of, for some of you, or for some people watching this or watching the future, this is going to feel like this is this like parallel universe reality that doesn't exist for you right now. But I think it's fair to say, and it's your story to tell or not, but not all of your family is supportive.
What do you mean by that? Who are you implying? Okay, yeah, no, we can talk about this. The thing is, I've talked about this before. It's not that my dad isn't supportive. It's that, like, he's. I think it's also really hard to compare anyone to you. I know it, like, no, it's because I think he's not like unsupportive. I think, he's a complicated person. I think we have a complicated relationship, but I don't think that we don't get along because I'm gay.
But that wasn't when you were a young teen. So
it's again,
right?
It's
so I
it's,
mean, like, so like
but
that's
it's complicated.
where
But
people
I think
start
yeah.
and where they end isn't always the same, because I think when you were 13, 14, 15,
mm-hmm.
he was very not.
But I think I think again, it's complicated. But I think for me, it at least from my perspective, it never felt like he was unsupportive because I was gay. I think it always felt like he was unsupportive because I wasn't who he wanted me to be when it came to like my interests, because I was interested in theater and arts and I hated sports and he loved sports and things like that. And so I think that's, again, my perception of things, which may be different than the reality and your perception of things. But anyways, I don't know where we're going with this.
Well, I think just because I hope that what people get from this is truly that that if your situation right now in terms of your family or in terms of people that you care about isn't what you would want it to be,
mm-hmm.
that it really can and does get better.
Yes, no, and it can and it will most likely change, and I think that's the thing. I think also, I think it's interesting, like, thinking back on things. Things can also often feel so big in the moment, and I think your perception of things and comparing to my perception of things that I'm like brushing off now, and you're like, that was a big deal, and I was like, no, it wasn't. It's no big deal at all. I'm fine. And you're like, you weren't fine when you were 14. Like, I think,
But you're not 14 anymore either,
exactly,
right?
I'm not 14 anymore. With separation and space from something, you have time to process, cope, and understand that, again, it's valid that things are overwhelming, but like also, and it feels like a lot, but like, the longer you stick around, the more you understand and you can sort of decode, your past experiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but so I think like I said, I think it's worth noting that the person you are, or the family we are today, is not the family we were when you were 13.
Oh no, not at all. I think that everyone's always growing, changing, shifting. I also acknowledge, even though I am a queer person, I am still always learning about the queer community, and also as an ally to people who are more marginalized than I am I am always learning and growing. And so I think, I think that's, the one thing to take away from this is like, you're never going to be a perfect person. You're never going to be a perfect person, period. But you're also never going to be a perfect ally. And so, understanding, learning, growing, and being open to grow, I think that's something that I really admire about you just in general, is your stance on life of like, you're always learning new things. Like, you started learning French how many years ago? 2 years ago? Just started taking up French. You do ballet. Like, you're never too, you can always learn new things. And I think that's a good thing to take into life in general.
Yeah, NB 100%. It's always cool to be learning more about other queers, for sure.
Also, God, feel that never knowing why you weren't connecting with a parent or family member, being young, not even realizing it's because they think you're queer, because being that young and not interested in the manly things and not even knowing that it was gay stereotype. Relatable content, bestie. That means a lot to me as a Black queer. Of course, Cherry. Again, like, it's important to, like, remember that we're not perfect.
Well, and I also, I will say for myself, I feel like ally, in my view, is not a title that you give yourself. It's a
Mhm.
title that other people assign
Mhm.
to you, and that it's my job to work to earn that title.
I totally agree.
But like, if the first word out of someone's mouth is like I'm an ally, in my head I'm like, probably not.
Very much a red flag where it's like we could get into Twitch politics, but basically, you know how there's tags on Twitch where you can tag your stream.
Mm-hmm.
You can say LGBTQIA, gay, whatever stuff like that. There's an ally tag. And for me personally, it's always a little bit of a red flag when people use that tag. It's not, I mean, it's not, like, it's, you know, each person is a different case. But again, self-labeling as an ally is always a little bit like, it always feels a little bit like you show your allyship through actions.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what you
Yes.
do in the world.
Yes.
And, you know, it's important to, you know, make, if you're in Twitch spaces or whatever spaces, make rules and make sure that everyone's safe. But yeah. Also, MCA is saying, pretty sure Sonic the Hedgehog and Animal Crossing were help form my aromanticism and asexuality. The lonely freedom both series exude resonated with my love for being myself in both body and mind. I love that. I love how also, like, there's so many different ways in the world to, like, come to understand your own gender, sexuality, and so many different things about yourself. And I love that, you know, video games can be such a way to explore that.
It's so interesting to me because I'm not
A video game person
at all.
Like, literally,
although
I
more
think-
now, but
but I mean, literally just because I forced you to play Stardew Valley on my stream one time.
yes,
You know, like,
I still have the scars to prove it.
the scars, not the scars.
The scars.
Also, yeah, thank you all for being so. I know we're not as. I usually am such a chatty chatterson, and I read all the chat, and we're having a convo where I'm not reading chat as much. But I appreciate all this input. I appreciate all these messages. I love to see it. I love to see it. I love to see it. And keep on sending things. We'll try our best to read them all. God is saying there's no such thing as perfect ally because to me it implies the queer community is static and never changing. Communities and identities are constantly evolving. It's about being the best ally you can be, not a perfect version. Same for just a decent human being in general. Period. Exactly that. I
also
think that's
feel
so
like
well
it's like
put.
I like we're all going to make mistakes, and I think particularly for me, if it's not my home community, so to
Mhm.
speak, then I'm even more likely to make mistakes.
Mhm.
And it's about like owning your mistakes
Mhm.
and not just apologizing, but like there's this I'm like super active in being Jewish, and there's this notion of repentance where it's like you can't just apologize. You're like, here's how I'm going to repair
Mhm.
whatever damage I have done.
Mhm.
So it's not just enough to apologize, but how am I going to somehow fix it and make it better?
Yeah. How will my actions show that I?
Well, not just my actions, how my actions show it, but also what work will I do so that I will react differently in the next iteration.
Also, Cater Todd, I'm glad you're lurking. Anyone who's here is lurking and listening on in. I hope you're enjoying our convo, and thank you for being here, everyone. Cater Todd, I hope you're enjoying, friend. Stephabeep said, understand it's not as if anyone straight streaming without the ally tag is suddenly unwelcome. True, right? Exactly. Sims allowing my bisexual self marry a woman is the best. Also, the fact that Sims has a non-binary option now.
Oh,
Yes.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
The Sims actually recently, it sort of started with a Twitch streamer, Momo Misfortune, who's actually another It Gets Better ambassador. Started a petition on Twitter and tweeted every day being like, day blank of asking Sims for pronouns options in their game. And just recently, earlier, I think in June, they launched pronoun options in The Sims, which is like so cool. It's so very, very cool. So yes, it's a new thing. And we love seeing games.
Well, also because like pronouns, like it's like, okay, so I have to put like a few more letters under my name, and it makes it like that I don't have to ask you questions. I know how to address you properly. I know how to address you in a way that respects what you want. Like, as opposed to me being like, oh, let me guess how you want to be addressed.
No, that's for sure. Also, Dora, I'm glad you're enjoying as well. And we said, Harvest Moon normalized me picking a wife to live in the countryside before anyone could teach me that might be unacceptable. Again, like, video games are so cool. Because I feel like like there probably was a small amount of queer media for you growing up, like maybe one character, maybe.
I would be astonished.
There's okay. I'll show you these video essays by this Matt Baum on YouTube. Does a bunch of really amazing essays about like queer characters in TV. There's not a whole lot of them, but there's some.
But yeah, I mean.
Anyways, no, but
yeah.
I think
But,
it's really
like,
interesting
not-
how
like,
pop culture
not like
does.
out.
No, for sure. It's queer coded for sure.
Yeah, like.
I was gonna, that sort of like also segues me into like talking a little bit about like my pop culture upbringing.
Yeah.
Because I think something that I really like looking back am really like happy about and also really like recognize is that like you definitely, as soon as you knew I was queer and old enough to consume certain queer media, you were like kind of nudging it my way. I have very like clear I mean, one, do you want to tell the chat what the first movie I ever saw at, oh, I don't know, like 2 months old, not even?
No. 6 weeks old.
6 weeks old. You want to know what the first movie I ever saw in theaters was?
To Wong Fu with Love.
To Wong Fu, Thanks for
I
Everything,
think
Julie Newmar.
Yep.
The American version, basically, of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert,
Yep.
was the first movie
Yep.
I ever saw in theaters. So I'm not saying I was indoctrinated and you fed me gay movies to make me gay. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know, I think, first of all, I think that's so lovely. Sorry, like old person with old eyes, phased
A phased cherry.
I'm so glad to hear that gives you euphoria when people use they, them. That's like amazing.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it is nice that people want to grow, but I feel like if you don't grow, then like you kind of rust. But anyway, but I agree. I think that it's more now, there are more openly queer characters, where when I was young there were coded queer characters, and I think the downside to coded queer characters is it's like you can be queer but only within constraints. And if you actually come out as queer, like it's kind of like your life is over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the 60s and 70s, right?
And I think like, as I said, like there was a lot of like I have very like strong memories of like, you know, going to like Video 99, Blockbuster, and you like sort of pushing me in the direction of, you know,
I was not pushing you anything.
Not pushing
you loved
I did love drag
movies
queens.
that had drag.
I love drag. I think by the time I was,
to
how old was I? By the time I'd probably seen every drag
8
movie
or something.
possible.
So I'm like going into the video stores and I'm like, okay, like what movies have drag in them? I'm like, I
Connie
know
and Carla, Priscilla,
some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot, Tu Wong Fu.
To Wong Fu. There was, there's another one, I think. And they're like, the other thing that always irritated the crap out of me, we had to go to really good video stores. That didn't irritate the crap out of me. What irritated the crap out of me is we would get like, whatever it is, To Wong Fu or Priscilla. And it would always be rated R. Oh,
yeah.
Or what's the one where Wesley Snipes is in it?
That's Tu Wong Fu. That's the one that you took me to do when I was 6 weeks old.
Infant. So then we had to watch it
Also,
again.
B, hi.
Is that those movies would be rated R. And yet I could go, there would be some movie where they're like blowing all this stuff up and it's rated PG. And I'm like, literally, these movies with drag were often the most chaste movies. Like no one would even kiss. And yet somehow that was an R rating. That really irritated the crap out of me. Sorry, I just had to rant.
No, you're welcome to rant. I mean, I think that's still the case. I think we're still seeing, this is a whole tangent, but hi, hello, welcome to the Tangent family. If you don't know where I get it from, you can tell why I stream the way I do. Also, that's exactly what I was gonna say, B. Like, a lot of queer media is like thought to be overly sexual, especially drag queens. It is thought to be like, drag is thought to be inherently sexual. I think that's a lot of the problems we're dealing with, you know, drag queen story times. And, you know, for example, Bag of Chips just got announced. She's a UK drag queen, just got announced to be the, like in a commercial for McCain, French fries. You know, the oven French fries,
Yeah.
which is, you know, great. But like I saw a video today about, you know, oh, it's overly sexualized and should this be a thing? Cherry, enjoy your lurk.
You know, yes, and I will say that the way when you dress in drag,
Mhm.
if your sister wore tops that plunged so low or slits that slit up so high
Mhm.
in terms of their dresses, I would feel uncomfortable with that.
But it's complicated because I think it's also like, it's complicated because I think there's also, there's so many aspects of drag as a performance art. And there is drag that can be very inherently sexual, but there also can be drag that is just,
No, I think though, but I think that's part of what makes good drag interesting, is I think a good drag is actually a commentary on gender and gender norms
Mhm.
and sexuality. But drag queen story time is just a bunch of people like having fun.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't like I don't get that, but I think you're right. It's the over sexualized point, which someone made way better than I will make.
Yeah, no, I think that's again, it's queer folks are inherently thought of as deviant, and it's inherently thought of as like, it's very sexual, and so that's why,
Well, in my generation, there was somehow this thought that, which I think is very weird, that somehow gay people were pedophiles, which is weird because, like, statistically, it's more straight people.
Guess what, Mom? That's still a notion that a lot of people on the far right are using against queer folks. Love how nothing changes sometimes. Isn't it great living in this world and being a queer person?
So, yes. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. Isn't comfortable.
Talking about things being
Yes.
sexualized and like what is and isn't comfortable or normal to be open about. I think there's still a lot of negativity towards yes. I think that comes with, polysexuality is something that is newer to a lot of people. It's, I think it's, again, with a lot of these things, it's been around, but it is in the greater cultural soup of things, it is sort of risen to the surface more. And I think that, new things are always, it takes time for people to understand things. And so I think that is, again,
and that's when I have to be honest, like polysexual, polyamorous,
Mhm.
asexual. Those are things I'm still trying to learn about.
Mhm.
So those are things that like I've listened to some podcasts on, or I've done some Googling on.
Mhm.
I haven't read any books yet, but those are ones where that's some work I'm actually
Mhm.
doing more
Well, and I
recently,
think
because it's just like you say, I don't think it's someone's job to then be like, okay, well, I'm not exactly sure what polysexual is. Could you please explain to me in great detail, right?
But I think also, the thing with you is also, I think it's more likely for me to have poly and ace people within my circle, whereas for you, I feel like it's not going to be as likely. And so I feel like also I am going to, just through, what's the thing where you just soak it in
Yeah.
naturally? You know what I mean?
It was interesting. I think I'm right about this, that when Caitlyn Jenner
Mhm.
came out, I want to say there was somebody who was like, maybe it was Billy D. Williams, who was sort of like, oh, that's me too.
Mhm.
And so I think that's going to be the thing more in my generation, is because we were such a closeted generation that people didn't know that like my generation, I think, had a lot of people thinking they were both there was something wrong with them and that they were the only one.
Mhm.
So I've got to think it exists in the same percentages
Mhm.
in my age cohort as it does in yours.
Yeah.
But people in my age cohort have lived in a certain box for a certain period of time, and at this point may or may not discuss it, and they may live that life, but just more privately.
Mhm.
So, and that's
Also, you should take a sip of water. You've been talking a lot.
okay.
I feel like I noticed you haven't taken a lot of water, so I'm
I
going to
was
read.
waiting for the hydrates.
I think there's a hydrate like almost an hour ago that you missed. I'm gonna catch up on chat while you hydrate. So NB said that. Oh, you just said it. And now two people redeemed hydrate. Um, NB said, Reverend Cole of the Commie Nerds recently said he will be stepping back from queer activism because the slander he was fighting at age 16, he's still fighting 50 years later. And he can't keep battling the same bigoted arguments. Wild how some of those prejudices prevail. It is truly wild, my friend. And MCA is saying, felt like a really bad person at first when I tried to watch Rocky Horror. It was way too sexual for me, and I saw it when I was like 17 or so. It took me a long time to realize it wasn't because I was hateful, but because I'm Ace, still love the Time Warp. Again, you know, like learning, growing, understanding yourself better as a person. I think we did talk about it already a little bit, but you know, Maggie is asking again, what is your thoughts on non-binary folks? And I think we've sort of covered a little bit already, but you know, I think you were talking about how, you know, it was something that was newer to you because you started with, you know, being around gay men and lesbian women, and you know, it wasn't as much of a thing. But I mean,
I feel like I still that's such a I don't think I've thought this through, so I'm probably going to do a lot of like
stumble,
so you know,
figure it out.
it was when you were little, there's this artist called Jenny Holzer, and she does a lot of neon art, and one of her statements was raise boys and girls the same. And so we tried to do that with you and your sister, right? So like you had we were evidently quite successful because you had dolls.
I love me a good Bratz, a good Goofy girl, a good Barbie.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, Polly Pocket.
Yes.
Let me chew on those plastic clothes. Absolutely.
So
well,
but so what I don't understand about myself is, so there I am saying raise boys and girls the same, and we had a tremendous struggle when you were young trying to find clothes that weren't like dull colors, right?
And trucks, guitars.
Yeah. So like I remember like struggling to find t-shirts for you that were like yellow or orange or purple, because those were to me completely gender neutral colors, but almost impossible to find for people gendered as boys. Which is all to say, I'm you know, my brain has been binary for, you know, almost 60 years, so I struggle with non-binary, which I think is ironic given that you know, I have this ethos of trying to raise sort of
your two kids in
gender,
a non-binary way.
Yes. So, but I think it's just trying to, but I think I've gotten, I hope I've gotten better on this in the, it's like, I'm not going to frame this well. It's none of my concern, right? Like it's, I'm, you know, like if
you're taking your time to understand it and, you know,
but
break the binary in your brain.
Someone's non-binary, as long as I interact with them in a way that's appropriate and respectful, then the problem is within me, inside my own head, to try to learn and to grow, and I shouldn't be thrusting that problem of my lack of understanding should not be your problem. My lack of understanding should be.
And I think it does, you know, if you have so much time in your life of setting in that binary mindset to break that binary within your brain, it takes time. Also, B is saying
clearly, B, that's so sweet.
They are non-binary, ace, and polyamorous. So if you have any questions, B is my pal, the leader of my my stream team, the Whimsy Action stream team. B is absolutely awesome. Actually, if I have any of my mods here, could I get a shouty for Queerly B, who's also an It Gets Better ambassador? So many love.
Oh, shut the front door! That's so awesome.
Yeah. I like how I fully dropped an F-bomb and you're like, shut the front door. Oops.
Which one's the mom and which one's the child? I already said language to you once.
You did say language to me. When I was less than 10 years old, I mostly want to play. We honestly, like, yeah, no, I do have very strong recollections of, you know, like you fully just like full force. Like I remember specifically when we were visiting grandmother and grandfather, and like Bratz dolls were the big thing. And I think a new Bratz something had just launched, and we called around to probably like 5 or 10 different Targets, trying so hard to find a Bratz doll for me because I wanted it so badly. And we also called the Barbie section and like the girls section at Toys R Us the pink section.
Yeah.
It was just where everything was pink, right? And really, yes, Bratz dolls were everything. Creativia, hi friend, welcome. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, so I feel like, you know, again,
except for then there was also me, and I hated Bratz dolls, and
Yeah.
I would always make a point of saying to you, remember what the price you had to pay to watch a Disney movie?
I don't remember this at all. No.
So before I'd hit play on the VCR for you guys to watch a Disney movie, you had to repeat after me, real women's bodies don't look like that.
I don't remember that. I mean, slay. I love that. I love that very
Literally,
much.
you literally be like, oh, you know, we want to watch Cinderella. I'm like, okay, but
real women's bodies
don't
look
actually
like
look
this.
like that.
I mean, and you know, we're making progress.
And see, that was my concern. Like the reason I hated like Bratz dolls and Barbies and stuff.
It's just
So I would also say often real women's bodies don't look like this, right? Because I just felt like, you know, you don't need to have oh, I'm sorry, Steppa Beep. You
good,
don't
hopefully good stopping. Good
Yeah.
stopping.
Like you don't like, you know, like it's hard enough growing up in this world without like having all these, you know, and
Expectations.
I wasn't gonna have you guys grow up and be like kumbaya crunchies who never had sugar and who never had, you know, any, like I felt like you had to live in this society, so I wanted you to live in this society in what I perceived as being a more healthy way.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think I definitely like at the time when I was a kid, there were definitely some rules where I was like,
One
one sugar thing a day. I've told my community about this. I hated one sugar thing a day, but now I don't really crave sweets. I don't really like soda that much. And I actually really enjoy eating fruit as like a thing to snack on when I'm feeling like I want something sugary. So like you win. And also like what else was there? Oh, also you failed with the computer time. We were only supposed to have 1 hour of computer or TV time a day. And now my part-time job is being live on the internet for multiple hours on end. So,
you know, earlier the pandemic when you were talking about how you were playing Animal Crossing 8 hours a day, and I was like, well, clearly that 1 hour screen time a day thing worked out really well.
But you know, I mean, you win some, you lose some. And I think in the grand scheme of things, a lot of the ways that I hated when I was like growing up, like I totally look back and I'm like, actually, you know what? That was like, it was like really, it makes sense. It was either like, you know, just good in general or very progressive for the time. Like again,
you guys hated that we didn't have a car.
Oh, I hated it, but now I'm like, ew, who needs a car in this city? Again, but I also think that's a thing where we, you know, we're in a metropolitan city with amazing public transit.
Yeah.
If we were in America, basically anywhere in America, we would need a car, right? I think that's just the lucky thing.
Well, not just America, like most places in Canada too.
True. But anyways, that is besides the point. I always and still am obsessed with plushies. I always have to have something. I mean, I got re-obsessed with plushies with starting Twitch stream because I started with Mom. If you want to duck over a little bit, you're gonna see behind me. I've got my Totoro, which I started putting in the background of like my streams.
Yeah.
And then it's on my bed after stream, and so I cuddle with it. And I like never really did cuddle with it. Like I had a little red teddy bear when I was a kid, and that's
yeah.
it.
I still have that red
bear. But like you know, I was never really a huge like cuddling with plushies, and then I was like, Twitch got me hugging a little Totoro at night.
Oh, so you know, fun fact about that red bear.
What?
My best friend growing up, who came out extremely late in life as a lesbian, that bear is from her to you.
Right from the get-go, you said we're gonna give you the gay teddy bear, and Stephanie would say, "I'm so glad I had time to internet access as a kid because I did not have access to it. Was not censored, definitely to my detriment as I got older and say schools started using more computers and tablets." True, very very true. It is wild to me sometimes, like how much internet access. I feel like I do. Yeah, I feel lucky that I grew up in a time where I was, you know, just as computers were becoming a thing, so we had you were able to cling on to dial-up and VHSs for just long
I was
enough.
also be able to cling on to that we had one computer and it was in the kitchen.
Yeah, but like
so that I could see what you were watching.
Exactly, and so like you were able to cling on to that because now we are in a society where like it's so normal for like kids to have.
Oh,
tablets,
I
phones.
see tiny kids with
Which
with a
I think
phone.
it's complicated.
It is complicated, but it's yeah, I agree. I think it was simpler. It was much
Well, because
simpler.
also you were able to also, when I had my first phone, you were able to get me like a refurbished BlackBerry.
You wanted that refurbished phone.
I know, but you were like, we didn't get anything complicated or fancy. We got me a phone that could text and stuff, but
Yeah.
and this was because I was going to school, like I was taking the bus to school by myself, and that's really why
Yeah.
we got me a phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't for watching YouTube on apps, anything like
I'm
that.
not sure there was much in the way
No,
of
no,
smartphones.
but anyways,
Anyway.
this is an aside. This is an aside.
Anyway,
Us on a tangent about
so
something
what was
unrelated.
the? I think I already talked about knowing that Atmos was gay.
Did we cover what your favorite thing
think
about
it's
Pride is? What
Pride
your favorite thing about being involved with LGBTQIA communities is? Also, this
Oh.
is that's just referring. We're trying our best to touch back on the question the
Questions.
community asked.
But
Yeah,
you can
I
ask
appreciate you
questions
saying
too.
that you love the way that we're navigating the conversation. I appreciate because it's chaotic, but also very much. Again, I feel like anyone who watches this stream from my community will 100% understand the way that I have conversations
Yes.
in my streams. You're like,
Yes.
oh,
He comes
okay, I
by
get
that
it.
honestly.
And Odie Sniper Siren, hi, welcome in, friend. It's good to see you. But yeah, so I tried to rephrase this because I wasn't exactly sure what the person what they meant when they wrote it. But yeah, what is your favorite thing about like Pride and Pride celebrations, and what's your favorite thing about being involved as an ally in the LGBTQ communities that you have been and currently are involved in?
So I'm gonna do the second part first. So
Yeah, of
I
course.
think I mentioned in terms of the LGBTQI community, like I just have a lot of respect for how the community stands together, how people build chosen families and really support each other.
I think that's also something that I've found is super important to me is chosen family. Even though I have such a supportive family, and I've had like this privilege of being able to like come out and be myself without much fear, there is still something so special to me about that chosen and found family that like like again, and I think that's something sometimes I'm like I feel like not guilty about, but I feel like I'm so lucky to have a biological family, a mom who's super accepting, who's an amazing ally, but I also there's something I super value about my found family and my chosen family that I don't get from my my family. And I think that's something that sometimes I'm like I'm allowed to
Yeah.
different people in the world are allowed to give me different things, and I don't have to feel bad about having thinking of having two different families.
Yeah.
Because they serve me in different ways, and I know that sounds like a very clinical way to say it, but you know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
That's
also
fine.
hi, hello.
Hi, hello.
That's what we do.
So that would be what I would say. I'm medium about Pride. I like that Pride is fun. I like that I like there's like I like that I don't know. I'm going to sound like an old person. It was really different like in the 80s.
No. I mean, but I think
In the
that's
80s
important to
it
think
was
about.
really different. And so one of the things I think is this huge generational split is like it was such a big deal in the 80s and 90s as because it was just a community celebration and a form of it was a calm protest.
Mhm.
And I feel like one of the differences is early, and I think this is where our generations part ways
Mhm.
for historic reasons, like in early Pride, when that first corporation had supported a Pride event, in those days, that was actually a courageous thing to do because they were full on expecting to be like boycotted,
Blacklisted,
and whatever, right? And so I think my generation, so the thing is that I think what that meant, let's say when we started being corporate sponsors, maybe 30 years ago. And it really was courage. And I think it did mean something.
And that corporate sponsorship and standing behind everything.
But now it's just like slap a rainbow on it for the month of June. And
get your extra money from queer folks.
And and so, but I think my generation is still in love with the idea of that it's somehow some big corporate risk, and doesn't always acknowledge as well as your generation does. Well, hey, let's look at where what candidates they've donated money to, what causes have they supported, how do they treat their LGBTQI employees, like, you know, like some of that stuff. I think you're much more
that's
sophisticated
that's
than my
so
generation.
interesting, and I think that that's something I didn't think about, because I think that is something that I've noticed is a lot of older queer folks are much more, you know, excited about, you know, corporate pride campaigns, and also about police marching in pride parades. But again, I don't think I ever thought about the fact that for them, you know, when pride started, it would have been such a huge yay, Star Trek! I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. But yes, you know, it would have been a huge thing for police to be involved with Pride. It would have been a huge thing for corporate sponsors to be involved with Pride. And so there probably are folks who are still holding that mindset of like, but it's a huge risk for them to be involved in where
because
that's not the reality anymore,
when
right?
when that if you watch
It was.
Yeah, when you watch The Life and Times of Harvey Milk, and when they talk about the it was easier on the opposite side when they talked about the
Coors Light?
Coors beer boycott.
Yeah.
And how Harvey Milk and the gay bars spearheaded that and were successful in really helping promote change. And so beer companies actually led the way on this. So, but it was kind of this, we'll sell you beer previously, but we don't want to you know, we don't want to recognize, we'll take the money, but we won't support you anyway.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with police, and that once again, that's a, you know, like in my lifetime, my friend Andre, who you got to meet, and I only wish we had been able to see him more. So he was out at the age of 18 or 19, moved to San Francisco. And one of his stories was about, he was at a bar on Castro Street, and he went out to go get cigarettes, which unfortunately is ultimately what killed him. And there was a Molotov cocktail thrown into a gay bar. And it's like, the thing is, for my generation in those days, you would never call the police, because the police only made things worse.
Yes, it bring the police into the situation if there was a crime against you. Well, I think that's something that, you know, is also, it's still the case for a lot of people. And I think, you know, it's gotten, you know, things in the world have gotten better, but it's still the case for, you know, a lot of, especially people of color. It's not 100%. As much the case for, like, you know, queer folks now. If there is, you know, a crime that's motivated by, you know, that is hate motivated by, you know, their sexuality, it's not as likely that police will do, you know, that will treat it. I mean, it's still gonna happen because ACAB, but, you know.
But I think that, you know, so I mean, I think if I stick in history for now, I mean,
yes.
like
of course.
in my, I mean, like, and not just 35 years ago, but 35 years ago, my friend Ron was part of the bathhouse raids in Toronto, which was a whole bunch of consenting adults in a private institution, and the police arrested a bunch of people, and they only apologized in Toronto like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would say 20 or 25 years, there was a women's bathhouse called Pussy Palace, same thing, police raids. Like, there were, like, I remember clearly, probably 25 years ago on Church Street, like, there would be, like, like I say, the police were always a problem, never a solution. And even not that long ago, you know, with the serial killer, right? And those were disproportionately men of color, and the police were ignoring them. But the thing that I think makes this issue complicated is, one of my friends is a now retired gay firefighter. And it means a lot to him when he sees firefighters and police marching in the parades, because he was always out, but
Mhm.
for years he was the only out firefighter.
Yeah, no, that makes
And
sense.
so I feel like that's the part that is challenging,
Mhm.
right? Is that, I mean, what's good is we now have out police officers, and we
Mhm.
now have out firefighters, and we have out EMS, and I
Mhm.
think that's all to the good. But the police, I feel like, is a super complicated
It's super
topic that
complicated.
I don't.
I
But as I said,
But
that's
again,
just my
it helps me
generation's.
understand more the viewpoint of your generation, because it is always, my generation is always like, why are we so happy about corporate sponsors? Why are we so happy about police? Like, it's,
Okay, so not a word of a lie. I was invited when the Toronto police. They said they were going to be doing the apology for the bathhouse raids, and this was, like I say, about 4 years ago, and not a word of a lie. So this gives you a generational.
Also, Stephanie, of course, watch the
yes.
VOD later. It'll be up on It Gets Better for
A
a
while.
while, so you're gonna watch it whenever, friend.
But literally, so this says how much police were not a help.
Mhm.
So they were like, "Oh, we're going to do an apology," and as I was about to step into the police station, I thought, what if this is just a way of being able to conveniently arrest everybody,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
all the leaders in the LGBTQI community? And that was only like 4 or 5 years
yeah,
ago.
and it's
Because I'm not even sure that 30 years ago I would have stepped into police. They wouldn't have had one, but if they'd had some kind of gay event, I wouldn't have stepped in there, because I would have been convinced they were just going to arrest everybody.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And Kritivia, enjoy your look, and also Shan, hi, welcome in, friend. It's good to see you.
Oh, hey, Shan.
Okay, cool. We literally have like half an hour left of the stream, and we still have some community questions I'd like to cover. So we kind of already covered it, but you knew I was gay very young. What was the hardest thing for you? This is a question someone had. What was the hardest thing for you about having a queer kid? Also, take a sip before you do.
Since when are you like...
Someone hydrated. Someone had to hydrate.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, hydrate person.
MCA, thank you.
I didn't find it hard having a queer kid.
No?
No.
Like, was there... I'm curious, was there any ever instances where, like, because if you didn't have, me, you, our family, was there any external stuff that you felt, like school, other parents, stuff like that, where there were other people that weren't as progressive or understanding that caused you problems? I feel like I remember
we had a very
junior kindergarten.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to tell the junior kindergarten.
Because I was like, I feel like there's something, and I immediately just in my brain went junior kindergarten. I'm not going to say the teacher's name because again we don't dox, but
you liked to wear skirts all the time.
I loved a good skirt
when you were a kid, and you wore skirts. And so one day it was pajama day at school, and you were like, "Can I wear a skirt?" And I was like, "Sure, you can wear a skirt." Because there were people wearing pajamas, so it's basically you're wearing some kind of a costume. And I will say, I am going to humble brag because I'm really proud of myself on this. So the junior kindergarten teacher pulls me aside and was like, "Well, I don't know that it's so appropriate that Theodore that Atmospheres is wearing a skirt today to school, and that might give him some wrong ideas." And I was like, "Look, he's going to be a drag queen or not when he grows up. And I would rather him be a happy drag queen who feels good about himself and who he is than be a sad, lonely drag queen who needs lots of therapy because he feels so unhappy. But I would rather him feel happy and content with who he is." Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Snaps in the chat for @mom.
I feel like, and so that happened in junior kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like, I think overall it was a supportive school. I mean, there was a gay vice principal. Mm-hmm. There were always 2 or 3 gay.
What? When?
Your whole elementary school year.
Really?
Your vice principal.
I didn't know that.
Well, all your vice principals were gay.
Surprise, I guess I learned something new every day.
There were at least 2 gay teachers in the school. There were a ton of gay parents in your school.
That makes sense. We did, I also, again, privilege, I did grow up in a kind of more hippy dippy area of
Yes.
this, in a very large, very generally progressive city. We grew
But
up in a
I,
very
but
hippy-dippy
like
area of the
never
city.
trust progressive people.
Oh, no.
Because
Never that.
progressive people say one thing and they can be very hypocritical. But it's like I think we did well in terms of school for you. I think the thing that was challenging sometimes is, I don't know, like, so there was one of the kids when you showed up in a skirt, one of the kids who later came out as trans, the mom of that kid at age 4 said, my kid, we went to Florida and they wore a sundress the whole week. And what do you think? And I was like, well, if they're happy in a sundress, like,
wear your sundress.
Wear a sundress, right? So I was not surprised when it turned out that kid was trans. And I will say that I think what could be challenging is, for good or for bad, is that I think parents can sometimes struggle more with this than they want to let on, and hopefully if they're doing a good job, their kid doesn't know how much they're struggling. And so it's a good thing, but it can be challenging when someone's having a lot of trouble accepting their child. And I'm like, I feel like because I started this so long, sometimes long ago, I started kind of in 1981. Like I started so long ago that I don't really remember what like to feel some of those feelings. I don't really remember that. And because I started so long ago in 1981, I remember actually I was actually the facilitator for a panel, and we were talking about homeless youth, and I asked them what one word of advice would you give to parents, and they said, don't assume your kids are straight. And I don't know, I was like 25, and so I always walked into parenting from pregnancy with the notion, don't assume your kids are straight. But I think our culture likes to impose straightness, and I think, honest to goodness, I think gender reveal parties are so damaging.
Awful. Over. Done. We don't need those anymore. Absolutely not.
But we never had them before. Like, this is a new thing.
It's a new thing. The world is a weird place. Also, MC says there's a picture of them in preschool wearing pink feather boa. The pictures, I'm gonna maybe pull out. I'm gonna maybe on Twitter, I'll pull out some old pictures of me as a little kid today, and I'll post some of those for fun. And maybe I'll see if you're okay with it. Could I post maybe some of your? Because my mom actually had me scan some pictures from her Pride in San Francisco in the 80s. Maybe I'll post
good
some of
for
those
you,
up
Shan.
Too. We can do a little throwback.
You have to post your butterfly picture from kindergarten.
I will. If I can find it, I will.
It's pink and purple butterfly.
It's pink and purple custom bespoke Halloween costume. I wanted to be a butterfly. And
it included a glue gun.
It included a glue gun and a lot of swearing from what I've been told.
So I really grew Atmos's vocabulary while making that costume.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting all the community questions. I think we kind of touched on this already, but if we want to touch on this again and kind of more focus in on it, these are kind of two similar questions, so we can kind of cover both of them as we go. What is your biggest advice for questioning people who have homophobic parents? So, that. And then also, what would you say to queer and trans kids who don't have a safe space at home to be out and proud? I think those are kind of similar vibes of questions if we want to sort of tackle that as a thing. Again, I think we touch on it, but I think if we dive deep into it, I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah. So this isn't my existence, fortunately, has been yours. It depends on what safe means to you. I would generally say if it's possible for you to get to legal adulthood, because then you have a lot more control over your life. And especially with a lot of the really horrific laws that are happening in the US, even a supportive parent, if you're trans, you could end up getting investigated by Children's Aid. So but as I say, I don't live in your world, so I don't know what safe feels like to you. If you can last until adulthood, and I mentioned before, if there's a way you can save up some money so that if you need to leave, you're able to do so in a way that you can call your own shots in your life, right? Like that you can find roommates who are safe, or you can find a place to live that's safe, so that you don't get trapped in a situation that's unsafe, maybe in different ways. I think there are resources online. Once again, several people have mentioned in chat about like incognito mode.
I'm 99.9% sure. I could be wrong. Oh my god, I'm forgetting what app there is, but I think there's an app that paired up with It Gets Better, and I'm forgetting what it is now. But a lot of apps or a lot of websites that are specifically for queer youth will also have like an auto exit button on them.
Yeah.
They have built in like a leave and shut down everything quickly button. So,
there's a lot of like women's domestic violence sites, and like you push a button and it takes you to a like a shopping site. So, and I would imagine that It Gets Better has a lot of resources. I know
absolutely.
In Canada we have the youth line, which is specifically for queer youth, and the counselors on the other end are queer, and they're going to be able to provide you better thoughts than this 61-year-old bag who's talking to you. And the thing I will say, I'm going to sound like I'm like an honorary It Gets Better ambassador, but like I will say, if you have,
do you want the It Gets Better hat?
put on the hat. So here I go.
My hair is awful. There we go. It Gets Better ambassador.
So what I will say is that, as I said before, your homophobic parents today will hopefully be your more accepting parents tomorrow. Like I was just having coffee last night with a friend who grew up Mennonite, and his parents and he get along fabulously well.
But it's it's not always the case. It's the hope that that's the case.
Yes.
And again, I always want to mention that it's very lucky if that ends up being the case. But if that's not the case, that's also okay. It's okay to cut people out of your lives if they are doing harm to you continually.
Oh, that's star drop. That's so great. Oh my gosh, about your abuelo and your abuelo. That's, oh my gosh. That's so beautiful.
That is so sweet. It's so lovely when, either surprisingly or not, family is accepting, because I think also the one thing is, I think a lot of the times family will surprise you. Again, not always for the better, but I think a lot of the time,
or there may be, like in my generation, it was often siblings who were helpful.
Also, oh my god, Markedia, I missed that follow earlier. Thank you for the follow. And Loudly Loquacious, hi, hello, friend, welcome on in. But yes, anyway, sorry to interrupt.
So yeah. And I think that's interesting. Shan Sprout's talking about the AIDS Resource Network has, like, there are resource networks out there who can maybe give you community and country specific advice, certainly can give you someone to talk to, maybe give you advice, and especially
and I think it is important. Ways to get advice discreetly. There are lots and lots of ways where you can get that advice and no one except for the person who's giving you that advice knows that they're giving you that advice, and once that conversation or whatever is done, no one has to know, right?
Exactly. So I think there's that, and what I would say to parents who are struggling is...
that's another question someone asked, is what would you tell a parent who is struggling? That's the question you can sort of take. I think, though, applying to this conversation, what would you tell to a parent who is struggling to, either parent a queer kid or come to terms with their queer kid coming out? What would you tell a parent who is, having that struggle of,
so
working to understand?
I'm a big support person. So I believe PFLAG is everywhere. And I, like, now we're in this...
Also, I'm taking my hat.
You taking your hat back? Yeah, that's fair. PFLAG is everywhere. There's tons of online resources for parents. There are communities of other parents. you can go and talk to other people who are in your same situation and learn and figure out. Where I think it can be challenging is, my observation is that the parents may not be united. There may be one parent who is supportive and one parent who is way less supportive. And I think that's a whole marriage parent challenge.
But that's
and
also
the other thing is that, I mean, I personally think that a component of this is genetic. So chances are, if there's a gay family member, chances are there's a gay uncle or a gay somebody in there. And so hopefully that can be a way that the parents can get like try to understand better.
I love that. Peter's literally saying that their mom just joined PFLAG.
That's great.
Slay. Love that. And then Chloe is saying that their brother was so supportive of them coming out as trans. He was the first person that came out to help every step of the way. When I was planning on coming out to my parents, I love, as again, especially with siblings, if you have a sibling, they're closer in age to you. They're more likely they're of the same generation. They're going to be more likely to be understanding. And then MCA is saying that both of their parents are way more progressive and understanding than the rest of their families. Wouldn't be happy, mentally healthy without them. I love to hear that. And it is, again, you never know. I think that's the thing of,
and the other thing I was going to suggest, might research a little bit, is if your parents are having trouble, and this may be more my generation, but it wouldn't hurt, checking yours. A lot of Jewish denominations, a lot of Protestant, more liberal Protestant denominations actually now have very good stances on LGBTQ people and LGBTQ rights. So, for example, if you were Jewish, you might say, why don't you talk to a Reform rabbi? Because the Reform movement has been same-sex marriage has been accepted for 15 years, and the women's movement within the women of Reform Judaism pushed forward to have trans rights acknowledged in like 2013. So, and there are a lot of the Protestant denominations. So, if you happen to be, I'm going to guess, like Unitarian, you may be like, why don't you go talk to the minister? Because that may help parents.
I think even if there's not someone to talk to in person, we were talking a lot about media earlier, and TV shows, films, you didn't really have that. I had a little bit of that, but it wasn't perfect. And I think we are in the perfect time for amazing representation in media. And so, if they are struggling with it, there are so many, documentaries. There are also, our TV shows where there are, queer characters, and it shows, these complex lives of these queer folks. Off the top of my brain, I really can't, head empty, no thoughts. But we have so much. So I think,
like I was watching this Netflix documentary called, I want to say it's called Disclosure, and it's about the history.
Disclosure is so good.
Trans people in film and media, and like that was helpful for me because it's like it goes back in time historically, and then I start to remember some of these. I'm like,
a lot of the movies where it's like, these trans people are predators.
Or here's this trope. Oh, that's where I get that trope from. Or sometimes shows I remember, and then it kind of helps me. There was a show, The Jeffersons, which no one on this stream except for me knows, and there was a whole thing where one of George's army buddies is now a trans woman, and like I'd watched it at the time, but that was probably, I don't know, 50 years ago. And then it helped me kind of recontextualize. Oh, wait a minute. Like 11-year-old me watched this show, and like it was useful, I think.
No. And again, I think, it's, you have to be careful with the media that you're consuming, because I think there still are some of those tropes and those stereotypes. And we are still seeing waves of the Hays Code today, I think, in the way that our media is produced, because it was produced with the Hays Code for so long, and then we saw the echoes of that and the waves of that. And I think, they still haven't settled, and we still are seeing so much of our queer representation in media, villains being queer coded or outright queer, kill your gays. There still are a lot of those tropes that still do exist. So it is, important to be selective and mindful that media isn't going to fully represent the complex experience of queer folks in real life. But I think there is more media. I think sometimes consuming pop culture and media can make it easier to understand when it's not so deeply personal. Watching RuPaul's Drag Race because it's
Or
just a
you know
drag
what?
competition, but they
Or
also have stories.
watch Umbrella Academy, right?
Watch Umbrella Academy and see how they have the Elliot Page character unfold.
Victor.
I'm not an Umbrella Academy girly. I watched the first season.
I love Umbrella Academy.
Oh my god, you and Smelly Fart need to talk about it then, because smell like. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes. Okay. So.
Also, Shannon has to run for dinner.
Okay.
Of course, adore you. And yeah, the Hayes Code canceled. We hate her. Mr. Hayes can flop. One day at a time. A lot of oh yeah, one day at a time. One day at a time. Love it. What were you saying?
There you go.
I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have some like miscellaneous questions. Would you change anything about your life this far? It's a big, heavy question, but
that's a big question. I would say no. I would say two things. There's this quote which I don't remember who said it. The secret to life is not to have regrets; it's to have the right regrets.
Yeah.
And I also really feel strongly if I want to change something in my life enough, then I'm going to figure out how to do it or let it go. And I also made a real effort. Like I lived in China for a year when I was young, which is actually how I met his dad. I also feel like it's good to have adventures, particularly when you're young, so that if something goes wrong later, you already like, I don't believe in bucket lists. I believe in like either do it or let it go.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And of course, you're my favorite drag queen. The
question was favorite drag queen, which I feel like. Do you have a favorite drag queen who's not me? I feel like you're not a huge like in the drag culture.
Yeah, I'm in the drag culture for you and you alone.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Like I mean,
I kind of like Bob the drag queen.
Oh, Bob the drag queen is everything.
Bob's one of the only.
Bob is
drag
a queen
queens
for the people, incredibly intelligent and incredibly funny, and also like an activist through and through. Like so like well spoken and smart. Like there's that one picture of her getting arrested protesting in drag. Like, okay, honestly, true icon. If the one drag queen here, you're like, other than you, Bob the drag queen, we love to see it. Also, Maya, hello, I saw you in chat earlier, but yes, Queerios. It's us, the Queerios. Who inspires you? That's another question. I feel like a big question, but a really good one.
Who inspires me?
Okay.
No, I would say like the LGBTQI refugees I've met through Rainbow Railroad. I mean, like these are people who've had such hard lives and so determined to be able to live the lives that they deserve. So
I like that. Do you like being called like Mama Fierce by my community?
I love being called Mama Fierce.
I think that's something I was kind of like interested to like ask you about. It's like sort of how does it feel to sort of almost be a surrogate parent for like some folks on the internet who are part of my community? Because I know that one of the reasons why I am on Twitch, and one of the things that is my main goal behind Twitch, is really building this queer community online. Because as we said, there are metropolitan cities where queer folks gather, and some people are very lucky to live in big cities, but not everyone's that lucky to live in a big city. Or again, they might not be in a safe home environment. And so my goal is to create this sort of space online for queer folks to gather. And I sort of wonder how you feel about, being that sort of almost parental figure.
So I would say, honestly, like It Gets Better is part of what inspired me, because when It Gets Better started and it was like just these videos, of LGBTQI people
Mm-hmm.
talking about their life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the very, very first sets were people more my generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was clear, it appeared clear to me that it had so much meaning to your generation
Mm-hmm.
to hear people from my generation saying, we love you for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You will find people who love you. It gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it's an honor if people feel like getting a virtual like mom hug or a virtual auntie,
Mm-hmm.
blowing a kiss, if that lets people in the community feel the love that is right there waiting for them, and if
Mhm.
that's one of the ways that door starts to open for them,
Mm-hmm.
like what a huge honor for
Yeah.
me.
Because I think that's the thing is too. It's just like there's no limit to the love you can put out in the world, right? There's nothing stopping you from caring about these people
Well-
who are strangers on the internet,
Well,
right?
and the other thing is like there seem to be people, and I feel like I don't want to give space to Jordan Peterson, but he's an example.
Mhm.
Like there seem to be people who, for reasons that are unclear to me, just feel the need to randomly go dunk on strangers
Mhm.
about being gay or trans or whatever, whatever. And so why wouldn't, like, there are people putting that negativity out there. So if I can be part of a positivity,
Mhm.
and I know that it's the case certainly for trans people, I imagine it would be the case for anybody, gay, trans, asexual, all the things that I don't understand yet, and so I won't list because I haven't learned those all, so I apologize. That I understand that people go onto your social media and say hostile things to you for no reason.
Mhm.
So if I can be a little bit of a counterbalance to that, if
Mhm.
random strangers can be mean to you, why can't random strangers be nice to you?
Exactly. No, I think, and again, it doesn't cost you anything to be kind, right?
Well, no,
It's free. It's free.
I'm redeeming the hydrate later.
Yeah, no, I did the hydrate. You can do the hydrate now. Chloe, thank you for the hydrate. Also, creativity. Welcome back from your lurk. I hope you had good lurk. And I know we're not reading the chat as much because we're chatting with each other. But I hope you're all enjoying. If you're here lurking, if you're here listening, it's also Dog Terhu. Hi, hello, friend, welcome. Isn't that a great username, Dog Terhu? It's good. Miss my mom so much. You're the kindest thing. Oh my god, of course. And again, people are going to be away from their parents for a bunch of different reasons.
Oh, thank you, Stream
So-
Elements, for talking about
That's the
the
bot.
launch of. Well, thank you, Stream Elements bot, because I also do think, despite me talking to an inanimate object, that the link there, probably going back to the question of where you need to find resources.
Yes.
It Gets Better is a great place
Absolutely.
for resources.
I mean, that's why we're here.
PFLAG is also a place for resources, but It Gets Better, like you don't have to even look far.
No, absolutely. I don't know what the panels are below the stream off the top of my head, but if you go down below the stream, there are also probably tons of links for you to open and check out for It Gets Better. So there's just tons of stuff for there.
Yeah.
While I have you, obviously you are.
I want
my-
to send a smoochie out to Dora and say I'm sorry about your mom. So
Yeah, I love that. But while I have you here, you are my mom. What is your favorite memory of me growing up? You better be not too embarrassing. Or is there a proudest moment, or just you can two probably different questions.
okay, I'm gonna do a funny moment.
Funny moment and a proud moment. Oh God, I'm scared.
So my funny moment was when you were pretty little, and we were talking about how hard it was to find gender neutral clothing.
Yes.
And you, because you grew up to be so tall, you were always growing out of your shoes.
True.
And
I'm tall. God, that's good. Do you hear that? Right from the mouth of my mother, I'm tall.
He's tall. So I can't remember what happened at one point, but there was something like you were at your dad's house, and so I went and I just bought you shoes on my own that were the next size up, and they were brown. And you took one look at them and you threw them across the room and you said, I won't wear them because they're not pretty shoes.
Honestly, mood. And also, Chad doesn't know. It's not like I all of a sudden though also like decided to be extra fabulous and love pretty sparkly things like this. Do you want to just like, you know, show off this necklace that she is wearing? This is not like, oh, I wore a fun necklace because it gets better stream. This is, you know, this is a regular outfit.
This is another Tuesday.
This is another Tuesday. This is so you are all also have a shoe addiction. So me being mad about brown shoes.
Well, and also music theater, your great grandmother, like when we were going through my parents' house, your great grandmother had the original cast album to Oklahoma.
So I come by it honestly. Also, MC, I love that story about the jazz musician. I feel like there's a cool thing about Twitch is also like you get to, you know, share with people, but you also get to like learn from people as well. I think
thank you
cool.
for the
hype up the necklace. We love to see it.
I bought it in San Antonio.
Ooh, very cool.
Yes,
world traveler. And then so you said funny story. What's a proud story?
I have a couple proud stories. One is, and this is all on you, that there was a friend who had a gay son and was also in elementary school a couple of years younger, and he didn't have any friends, and you had trouble with friends, kind of grade 4, 5, 6, and you broke my heart one point where you were like, can I go to high school now? But then this parent said, can you give advice to this kid? And like I happened to be there. It wasn't like I happened to be
come
there.
At the door listening.
And you know, you said to him, look, just pretend you don't care. And then after a while you realize you actually don't. And I thought that
Slay. Oh my god, being grade 6? That's advice I think anyone needs to hear is just pretend you don't care and then eventually you won't care.
Yeah.
Hello? Am I a genius? That's so good. I love this is also like such a cool thing about like, I don't know, whenever we get to talk and like I'm an adult, there's so many stories that I don't have like memory of it or I perceived it a different way. And so it's like so cool to be able to like talk to you about different things and like, you know, understand myself, you, our family, and everything better. It's, I don't know, that's why I was like so excited for stream today. Because I was like, it's all, again, I love you very much. It's always nice to like, you know, spend, you know, a couple hours just chatting. My grandparents lived in the States, and it was like 8 hours to drive to visit them. And the most recent visit we did to them, it was like a full 8-hour car ride, and we didn't have like any podcast on, any music on the entire 8-hour drive. It was just us talking. So this is just regular for us. This is not like we're putting on a front. This is not like when I get on stream by myself or when we're here together. It's not like, oh, I gotta put on the act and gotta stay chatty for a couple hours. It's like, no, this is natural for me. This is just what our family does. We are getting close to the end of stream, so I will ask if anyone has any questions, any topics we haven't covered yet. If there is anything that you are feeling,
take the mic away.
Well, I wanted to make sure that y'all hear me. If there's anything you're feeling curious about that you haven't got a chance to ask, that you would like to ask before we do gonna sort of start wrapping up and finding a friend to raid, pop it in chat. We will try our best to answer anything and everything if we can and if we want to answer it. She's gonna.
I was saving up my whatever
Channel
things
points
so that I could redeem
the shave mustache.
So
she loves it gone.
I'm really happy.
She
about
hates the
mustache.
She hates it. It's coming back. It's coming back. Don't worry about that. I do have, while we wait for
Yes, it is R.I.P. the stash.
we have more questions. One thing I said to my dad when I was very young that makes way more sense now is, do you sometimes feel like you're the only real person that everyone's a robot? Slay, love that. Love an existential crisis as a child. Kids have such weird things to say sometimes.
No, I think it's an interesting.
No, it makes sense though.
Yeah, it does actually.
So I will. Someone did. They left not a question, but a really nice thing to you. And they wanted to say on behalf of everyone in the Atmos community that we love your son so much. You're an amazing mother. Every time he talks about you, it's nothing but compliments and the fact that he loves you. It's so clear to us that he was raised with respect, kindness, and lots of pop culture, and above all, love. Thank you for being you, for making Atmos this gem of a person, and for being an extension of mother's love for us. Stay healthy, take care. We adore you, fierce mom. Isn't that?
Aw,
That's so
thank
sweet.
you.
I feel so very lucky to like have come onto Twitch, and again, like I am very lucky that I have like such an accepting and loving mother, and I have a community already. But like I think there's something that I feel like Twitch community is something that I feel like I didn't know I was missing until I realized I had it, and there's just something so special. Oh my god, Dora, that was from you. Thank you, Dora. Crying in the club, absolutely mood.
Thank you, Dora.
And Creativia, ask a question. If we've already covered it, we can quickly recap or whatever. We can answer again. That's totally fine. But yeah, again, we are close to wrapping up. While I give you all a second to ask any last questions, I am going to start setting us up for our raid. I'm gonna find us a friend to hang out with. Give me one hot second, my sweet cuties.
Okay, so while you look for Raid, God, in answer to your question, Atmos has never put me in drag.
Would you ever want to be put in drag?
And when I was young, I think I sort of put myself in drag, because one of my favorite things to do, I did a couple of times, was get a very 50s like dress and literally go to a hair salon and have my hair done up in a bouffant and kind of go with what my friend Liz used to call a bride of Elvis sort of look. Oh, last star drop. I'm so sorry about your mom. That is so hard. So I'm sending you an anti-hug.
An anti-hug? The opposite of a hug?
No, an aunt, like
I know what you
aunt,
mean.
like a loving aunt. Why wouldn't can't I be fierce mama?
You can be Mama Fierce.
Mama fierce or fierce mama or something?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll allow
that's
it.
my drag name, and I would
I'll allow
totally
it.
love Atmos to make me up in drag. That would be
Atmos Mom drag stream? Should we? Would we? Okay, maybe we'll do that. Maybe that's where we'll wrap up. Is we'll with a promise of a future Atmos Mom drag stream. We'll figure it out. We'll have to make it work. Your face will have to heal from being scratched by a cat.
Yes. And so just before are you ready to raid?
I'm gonna start setting up the raid, but okay. I'm ready to figure out who we're gonna go say hi to.
Okay.
So whatever you want to say.
Okay. Thank you, Dora. Sending you a big hug back. So I just want to say one last time that if you're not in a place that you feel is safe, or you're not in a situation you feel is safe, check out the resources for It Gets Better. Check out the resources for PFLAG. And please know that everyone on this stream knows you are worthy, knows you deserve love, wants you what's best for you. So don't listen to the haters. Listen to your heart and know that you are a wonderful, special person who doesn't deserve bullshit.
Absolutely. Period. So true. I'm going to set us up with a raid. I just want to thank you all for coming out and hanging out with me today. We're going to head over to fellow It Gets Better ambassador Spring Sims, who's playing some cozy little Sims vibes today. I'm going to set that raid up, my friends. Here is our...
And I'm just sending a quick smooch to Creativa 10.
There's our raid message if you would like to join us. BLP girl, thank you so much for the follow. We are about to head out. If you would like to follow It Gets Better, there are tons of ambassadors who are streaming on this channel all the time. You can catch the VOD if you missed any of today. You can also find me if you are not following me. It should work. I don't know why my Atmos command isn't working, but I'm twitch.tv /Atmos_fierce. I'll love you all so very much. It was so lovely having you, Mom. Thank you for being here,
sweetheart.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being such a good guest. My heart feels so full. I'm so glad I could share my lovely mother with all of you. Thank you everyone who is here, who came, who hung out with us. I'll be back again next month. Basically, all of my streams on It Gets Better are the first Tuesday of every month. So the first Tuesday in August, which is my birthday month, the first Tuesday in August, you'll see me again. But with that being said, again, here is one more time the raid message. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. It was an absolute pleasure. It was an absolute blast. I adore you all very much. And please give Spring Sims all of my love. I will see you all soon. Farewell. Goodbye, friends. Bye, 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 bye. Bye.